My name is Marquise Sanders.
My name is Todd Jenkins. I'm 23 years old, and I'm young, black, and gay.
And we wanted from where I stand to be, you know, in the voices of young black gay men.
My name is Chance.
My name is Miles Mason.
My hope for young black gay men is that they fully recognize their beauty and their strength.
My name is Shamar Harriet. My name is Antoine Ramon Wilson.
Daniel Jeffrin.
We believe that the most effective HIV prevention information is going to come from young black gay men and be in the voices of young black gay men.
My name is Daniel D. Edwards.
I just want them to be free. I want them to be free.
From where I stand. From where I stand. From where I stand. From where I stand.
What does it mean being a young black gay man? It means a lot of things. It means you're divided and you're a part of two very marginalized communities all at the same time.
To me, like, anything that we do it, like, we are always conquering the norm. Like, we're always trying to be above what someone else tells us who we should be. It's not just about, oh, well, you know, well, all those, you know, gay men are feminine, or gay men are this, or gay men are that. We're always, like, you know, creating our own definition for who we are.
I love their creativity. I love their energy. I love the, I don't know, I love the love. That's really weird, but I absolutely love the love with black gay men. Like, especially in places like Evolution, like, you really don't get it a lot outside, but like here you just feel so, I don't know, like, even though we might not, all of us might not be like best of friends, I feel like there's just some kind of undercurrent love for one another. So I really appreciate that about black gay men.
It's just me being who I am. I don't really think I think it's really just that simple, just being who I am, black, young, and gay.
Well, for me, basically being a young black gay male means to basically be myself. It's not something that I chose to be. It's just a part of who I am. And I really more so identify with being a young black male, and who just happens to love and have interest in other men.
I feel like it's either you're captive or you're free. That's my whole outlook about sexuality, period. So I feel like to be young black and gay, to be young black and bisexual, I feel like it's freedom.
I'm cool with being gay. I love men. I ain't gonna sit here in front like I don't. I do, and yo, when I become famous, I'm gonna let everybody know. Point blank. I mean, that's just how it goes. Like, dog, I'm gonna be cute, successful, and sophisticated at the same time.
What I like about it is that we don't have any rules necessarily. We don't have any like set like, oh, you must do this, you must get married, you must have kids, your relationship must be, you must be the dominant, you must be submissive. That's all. Like, you kind of make it into whatever you wanted to make it. Like, you can listen to whatever music you want to listen to, you can like whatever you want to like, and nobody looks at you funny because you're already an oddity in the first place. So that's what I like about it.
And I think that's the benefit of being young black and gay in the 21st century versus being young black and gay prior to now. Because I think youth are coming out at such an early age and accepting or taking life by the horns of their own fruition and saying, this is how I want to live it earlier. They're able to reach that epiphany earlier as well.
The young gay community is constantly evolving. And so I'm pushing 30, you know. In a few years, I'll be 30 years old. And I think that my chance to be a young black gay person was passed up many years ago. I couldn't be a young black gay person growing up. My family would not have approved of that at all. Still, my family still doesn't approve of me being gay, even at my age now. I think the young black gay community, when you talk about the young black gay community, in my mind, will be those folks who are ages 15 to 20. And those are the folks that really have it the hardest.
I don't think I would ever create rules. I actually really like this. I really like being able to do what I want to, how I want it, and not really being looked at crazy by my peers. When I say peers, I mean my black gay male peers. Like, I don't have to, they don't look at me like I'm crazy.
So yeah, that epiphany of not caring, I think the longer you live in the world of your own fruition and according to what you want to do and your own rules, the faster and the more substantial that epiphany is. This is how it's going to be. You know, I don't care what anybody else says or what anybody else thinks. So yeah, I think that's important too.
The challenges facing young black gay men are many. I think certainly among them is stigma and the lack of acceptance and self-acceptance as a result. The lack of institutions and organizations to support more community among them. And certainly HIV is, I think, a manifestation of that. And so HIV is definitely a major issue for young black gay men, as is just in terms of young people of color. They are more likely to face challenges relating to class, poverty, racism, gender oppression as well, for those who are not gendered in the way dominant society accepts.
If I didn't want anybody to know that I was gay, by how I moved or operated, I could do it if I wanted to, but I just don't want to, because it's just who I am. It's what I am, and nobody should feel the need to change that just to make others feel comfortable.
Coming to Atlanta definitely exposed me to a lot of more people just like me. Like, it's like, okay, I'm home, like I'm around the same, you know, other brothers that, you know, who are no different in a sense. And so it's like, being able to just be like who I am and not have to worry about, wondering what other people think about me is like a blessing.
So it's very interesting. It's like not only are you a black male, you're also gay. So it's like, not only do you not have, you might be stigmatized from like your church and family because you're gay, but you are stigmatized from the rest of society because you're black. So I don't know, it's really kind of a double negative.
The privilege may be gone on a certain level, especially if you're male, losing that male privilege from coming out and being gay. But you gain a freedom to move and operate in a way that you would be bound if you tried to fit into that man box and solely fit in that.
I think that the challenges that have continued among young black gay men that are similar to those of maybe 10, 20 years ago are still a level of stigma and lack of, I would say, self-assertion, and the lack of organizations, again, and institutions that suit them, that serve their needs. Not enough of that. Certainly not enough intergenerational connection. That is something that we struggled with for years. What has changed, I think, is at the same time, there are more, I think that more young men are coming out. More young men are visible than they were 10, 20 years ago.
Currently, some of the challenges, I would say, is homelessness. A lot of people right now are going through homelessness, and it's causing them not to make the correct decisions because they have no other choice a lot of times. Another great problem is unemployment because they don't have jobs to maintain their regular lifestyle. And then another one would be really finding out what true love is, because I think that's been lacking for a lot of years.
I feel it's education, homelessness, joblessness, you know, internalized racism and internalized self-hatred.
The major challenge facing young black gay men today in 2011 is that they absolutely have the burden on their shoulders of developing and sustaining institutions for themselves. I'm not sure if previous generations have been extremely successful in creating a lot of sustained and robust institutions for gay community, and I think that this generation will have to do that.
Some of the issues that are facing black gay men, finding a sense of self, and also finding role models to actually help them along the way. A lot of times people are still struggling with being gay, and finding a space in which to deal with their sexuality, and finding people that will, you know, help them, you know, in terms of being who they are. A lot of times people don't have those spaces because of the homophobia in their community, things like that. I would say also black gay men face like other people's perception of them. So that becomes a big issue because a lot of times people want to put on this facade of who they want, who they think that they should be as opposed to who they really are.
I feel like sex is a huge challenge. Relationships and being true to yourself and others. Those are the challenges I feel like.
Apathy is a huge challenge. Because how are we supposed to progress and move to a higher state of intelligence as a human race, as a group of people, if we are perfectly aware, or with the presence of the internet, have easy access to information and what's going on in the world, and we have it, but do nothing with it.
There's so much talent that we have, but we hold ourselves back because we're worried about what other people think. Like, really, honestly, I don't see why. And don't sit here and say, because, you know, well, they're not paying my bills, so I shouldn't care. No, it doesn't matter if they're paying your bills or not. You should not give a damn, regardless. If they sitting here putting money in your pocket, you know, you have the right to be who you want to be. You're human. We're human beings. We all have emotions. We all have feelings. Why should I be neglected of my feelings because some piece of paper says it's not right, or some governor says it's not right, or somebody with, you know, their own personal views says it's not right? Just because you may have had a bad experience with them, that doesn't mean that I'm trying to be bad towards you. I'm not trying to do you dirty. I want to see you prosper and grow, just like I would want you to see me prosper and grow.
The biggest thing is acceptance in my mind. I think that live and let live. If what a person is doing in their life is not negatively affecting my life, my safety, or my health or well-being, then why do I really care what they're doing? You know, if it's, I understand the whole being morally sound and all that, but I think that what people need to understand is that as a gay person, you don't choose who you're attracted to.
Evolution is a safe space, drop-in community center for young black gay men and transgender between the age of 18 and 28. It serves as not only that safe space, but also an HIV prevention program. And its goal is to really help facilitate young black gay men to support each other in reducing their risk, improving or enhancing their sexual health, and also building leadership?
Sex is fluid. It's ever changing. Like, the whole perception of sex is so many different ways.
One night stand, sex.
To be quite honest, I think black gay men are more likely to have safer sex than, I would say, a straight person. Because like we were like, even though we were bombarded, like our whole existence, like is always connected to HIV. Like anything black gay is always connected to HIV. So I think a lot of us are aware of that and kind of want to protect ourselves. So that's why, I don't know, the recent, like this big increase in like black gay men with HIV is really, I don't know, perplexing, to be honest.
I think a lot of times, you know, no one like communicates in the bedroom often, especially because it's like, if it's a one night thing, there's no communication. It's like, we're just gonna have sex. We're not gonna talk about who's gonna do what. We're just gonna try to figure it out as things happen. And so in that type of environment, you know, anything goes. And since everything, I would say sometimes when those occurrences do continue to happen, then no one's being responsible, no one's being accountable for each other. So at the end of the day, it's just like a whole bunch of people who are not thinking about this disease affecting the whole community. It's just, I'm doing what I have to do at this moment to get off. And so I think that's the biggest problem. Like, people aren't being honest with themselves and not protecting themselves in the bedroom at the moment in which it happens.
When you're young, you're living life to the fullest. So it's like you live today and you deal with your consequences tomorrow. So I feel like a lot of young gay black men live for today and don't consider the consequences of their actions may have later on in life.
There's a perception that I hear a lot that young gay men in general don't care about HIV, that they just run around having all of this random, unprotected sex, and I don't think that's true. I think there's an immense generational tension that happens sometimes in the gay community where, you know, older gay men sometimes feel like the young, you know, just aren't doing it right, or they're just too fill in the blank. I mean, I think that happens across generations in all kinds of communities, right? The older generation feeling like the younger generation are more laxed or less responsible or less mature. And I don't think it's any different with gay men. I think one of the ways that operates is, again, around sexual morality and things like that.
I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe that now that my generation is not afraid of HIV anymore. The reason I say that is because there seems to be a sudden rise in the number of individuals that are interested in having raw sex, or more technical term, unprotected sex. So it's almost as if people feel as though there's more resources for individuals who are HIV positive, so why not take the risk? And there's also been a rise on the number of adult films and pornographic movies that feature raw sex, and we're talking about amateur movies, which are movies that are basically done by average individuals.
I don't think it's a problem for them not using the condoms, but when you look at a lot of the porn that's coming out and a lot of things that are saturated in the community, there's a lot of non-condom use, and that's what kind of glorifies the non-condom use. But it doesn't seem like it is a big problem, because most people come here and they do want condoms and they do ask for condoms. So I think condoms are being used.
I really don't believe the younger population is afraid of getting HIV. Sadly to say, I believe HIV is seen as, for lack of a better term, but a rites of passage within the community, being that so many individuals are now living with HIV and they're living much more resilient lives that, you know, the original population who may have been infected did not benefit from. So no, I don't think it's a fair tactic anymore.
I don't know. If they are afraid, I can't tell.
But I think that anybody who's walking around here and don't know about this disease is like either oblivious or just, you know, just don't want to learn or don't want to know. To me personally, I mean, you hear about it on the news all the time. People overseas, you know, in Africa losing their life to this disease. And then, you know that in this community, people are always talking about, I don't want to get the monster, I don't want to get the monster, I don't want to get the package. You know, obviously they're talking about HIV. You know this. So anybody who's out here like having risky behaviors, like I feel like you purposely want to do that. It's kind of hard to be oblivious to the truth.
I believe that young black gay men have a lot of different feelings around HIV. I think some of those feelings are fear. I think some of those feelings are ambivalence. I think some of those feelings are anxiety. I think there's also a kind of numbness around HIV in general. And when I say numbness, what I mean is that, you know, the generation of young black gay men today are a generation that's been completely inundated with information about HIV from the time, because they were born, you know, after, you know, HIV was a part of the public awareness. So they've been completely inundated with information about HIV. And so I think their relationship to it is a little bit different than the generations before, where, you know, they came across HIV, you know, maybe in their adult years or past their sexual development. But for the generation today, they were born after. So I think their relationship to it is very different, and I think we have to like understand that.
As far as the general gay community, I've found that pretty much people have learned that you can live with it now. It's not a death sentence as it used to be. So if folks get it, they know that they'll be okay. Eventually they may die from it, but who knows, or who is to say what you'll die from?
I'm not sure if young people are afraid today of getting HIV or not. I think only because you're not necessarily seeing people pass away like you used to when HIV first hit communities. Like it was hard hitting and it moved quick, and people passed away relatively quick in the 1980s, late 1980s. So now with medication and things of that sort, people are living longer, and you're not necessarily seeing the adverse effects. You wouldn't necessarily know somebody was HIV positive unless they told you. And sometimes people aren't told.
I think the fear of HIV did definitely impact how much I enjoyed this, because it's like you can't really enjoy it if every time you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I might have HIV.
Even though people are not dying at the rates that they were, people are living longer, people are living healthier lives. I know young men who have had friends die in the past year, 2 years. I know young men who talk to me about not only their fears about becoming HIV infected, but also the response, you know, that with all that is available to them, they shouldn't. You know, they shouldn't become HIV infected. So yeah, I think that they're definitely afraid of becoming HIV positive.
When you get a whole bunch of black gay men who are hurt, who are confused, who are longing for someone to love them, you get a whole bunch of people who just want to have sex and are not being responsible, basically, at the end of the day. No one's thinking about, like, oh, well, you know, HIV, you know, that, okay, it's a disease, it's a deadly disease. People are thinking about, oh, I'm going to get this quick fix, I'm going to have sex. And at the end of the day, no one thinks about the consequences until much, much later. That's kind of like the problem.
Because of the age, in the maturity levels, they're not seeing the importance to using condoms.
And as far as condoms go, like, I think my generation, like I said, I can't speak for a lot of people. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, condoms isn't a bad thing. I don't see nothing wrong with them. I mean, you know, I use them. And I think that they're, you know, very cautious. I mean, not cautious, they're very needed. But as far as like, I think that we use them a lot. I don't think we do. Because it's just like, I mean, all right, let's just call it spade a spade. It kind of takes the feeling out of it.
I have friends who have HIV, and it's like, you're wondering like, how is this continue to keep happening? And sometimes it's like, no one wants to stand up for it. It's like, I think people just continue to perpetuate the same attitudes about it, and no one's trying to change the mindset of, well, this is what you need to do. I think that people have in the sense, what they think safer sex is, but no one is, to me, changing the rates in a sense. Like, rates aren't going down, it's like they continue to go up. So everyone's being exposed to the advertisements about HIV, but no one's changing, it seems to me.
I think my first remembrance of HIV probably came about the 5th or 6th grade.
The first time I remember hearing about HIV when I got to Atlanta.
The first time I remember hearing about HIV was at home. My mother used to talk about it.
I have a member of my family who's HIV positive, a cousin of mine, and so that was when I heard about HIV, was growing up. When I was like old enough to hear stories of stuff that happened in the family, because I'm the youngest in my family. So a lot of things I didn't see, or a lot of things I just wasn't privy to growing up until I got older. So that was when I first heard about HIV.
In high school was one of the times in which I learned about HIV, but I don't think that it really, at the time, I didn't really understand what it was then. You know, a lot of times, like, it was in health class, so like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they just drill us information about these diseases and tell us the consequences of them. We don't really learn the ramifications of those diseases until much later. Until you actually, I think for me, it started to hit home more, like when I started to find out people that I knew who had HIV, and being more exposed to, I would say, just the general information about HIV, like, and just kind of like going to programs like in undergrad, like the whole thing, World AIDS Day, that exposed me more, like, to understanding like what it was, you know, how you can catch it, and you know, the people that are suffering from it.
This is such a critical moment for HIV prevention right now. I think they're both amazing and stunning advances in HIV prevention, particularly on the biomedical front. But I also think there's still these absolutely immense challenges, and I think that they have to sort of figure all of that out. In HIV prevention, some of the things that, I mean, there's also like a lot of amazing work too. I mean, I don't know if we highlight that enough. I mean, I think there are, I think that, you know, the researcher Patrick Sullivan has done some amazing work with looking at couples testing. I mean, when you think about it, HIV prevention isn't just, or HIV in general isn't just an individual thing, right? It happens in relationships. It happens in coupledom. It takes two people. So the thought of actually including couples testing as a sort of, you know, and kind of incorporating it into like relationships, I think that's pretty amazing.
As far as the professional community goes with HIV prevention, I think that they do as much as they possibly can aim towards HIV prevention. At the same time, we're all human, and we know what we like, we know what we don't like, we know which feelings is going to, we know what, when we're having sex, what's going to feel better to us. And so with that, I think that HIV prevention has gone as far as it can go, because no matter what, an adult is still going to make their own decisions.
What they get right, I think, is that in order for prevention programs or these services to work, is that they have to be more youth-led, more led by young people, youth autonomous, and that they need support in that, and that there's a level of creativity that comes with that generation that we need to defer to.
I think a lot of it, a good way would be to like make it more fun, like make it more interesting. I feel like a lot of young black gay men, like they want to have fun. Like that's just, I think that's just anybody, any young person in general wants to have fun. And I think making it more fun and interesting would definitely, I don't know, increase involvement for black gay men. Also, they need to see why it's so detrimental to our community. Maybe if they learned a little bit of history and saw some like HIV and like the effects of HIV.
The effectiveness of HIV prevention work, when the message is out and people actually hear about HIV and hear about how to prevent it, it's really up to the person whether or not they will decide to implement it when it comes time. One thing that I've found is that when discussing things of this nature with friends and people that I've worked with and people that we've helped and counseled, the heat of the moment is a powerful thing. Even for the best of us, it's a very powerful thing when you've known someone that you think in your mind has been long enough, and you feel like you trust that person, and so it can be easy to let your guard down and not be safe, and it is very much a heat of the moment thing. The effectiveness of HIV programs is only effective if the mindset of the person who's receiving it.
I think that the reason why we're seeing the rates of HIV among young black gay men that we're seeing today is for a variety of reasons. I think, researchers have made a lot of very interesting arguments, some around sexual networks and the ways that, the HIV prevalence within certain sexual networks drive HIV rates. This also, questions around stigma. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about, continuing education. But I mean, at the same time, even as we recognize and acknowledge the rates of HIV among young black gay men, we also have to look at the resilience of young black gay men. I don't think we spend nearly enough time asking ourselves, why are the young black gay men that are in high prevalence HIV contexts or sexual networks, how are they remaining negative? I don't think that we ask the question nearly enough as to how people are remaining negative, and using that as a starting point to think about the ways that we can move forward. In other words, I want us to really think and consider looking at young black gay men not just as a pathology and not just as a series of statistics, but also as, the assets that exist among them, the resources. What are they doing right? We often talk about what they're doing wrong. I think that's something we do a lot with black men in general, right? We talk a lot about all the things that they're doing wrong and all the things that's going wrong for them, and not nearly enough around the things that are kind of working. So I think that it creates a strategy that's very often kind of narrow. And what I want us to do is just look at the young black gay men in particular from a wider perspective.
I think we send mixed messages. So on one hand, we're saying that, for people, the messages that are targeting people that are not HIV positive, or that don't know their status, are, if you don't get this, this is not a disease that you want. This can threaten your life. You don't want this. Steer away from this. And for those who are HIV positive, it's not that bad. You can live a long life. There are campaigns with people that are smiling and enjoying lives and having fruitful and productive lives. So I think we have to do a better job of reckoning with the complexities around attitudes around HIV.
Like, I think that it's going to have to be like, people are going to have to just have to do it as opposed to people talking about it. Because it's been so much exposure to like HIV, how to catch it and all that. I think that people just have to start being about doing it and, you know, telling their friends.
I would like to see us move beyond a very didactic approach to HIV prevention. I think that it's really important, certainly to, you know, communicate some information in a very deliberate and a very, kind of a didactic way. But I also think that, you know, young Black gay men bring a lot of wealth of wisdom with them a lot of times to these workshops and to these interventions. And I think that that should be the starting point. I think the starting point should be what they know and building on that, and not assuming that they don't really know anything, or that the sort of workshop leader knows more than them. I think that's also really important to kind of consider. One of my biggest influences has always been, you know, popular education models of sexual health. I think the late, great writer and ultimately sort of social architect Eric Rothfuss was amazing at that, like envisioning gay men's health beyond just HIV, but looking at the wide spectrum. And I think in terms of how we relate to young Black gay men, there's a lot of power in that, not just focusing solely on HIV, but having a wider approach to how we look at their health. Like, we need to consider, you know, mental health, and we need to consider, you know, sexual health outside of HIV. I think they're just even physical health, and I think that's definitely a direction that we should be going in.
Love. What is love? I think that, Lord, this right here is going to be one of those questions that's going to take forever to answer.
I think that's what's lacking in a lot of, when it comes down to the gay community, period, is love. It doesn't even have to do with anything about being in a relationship with another partner or something. It's love for yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? And I mean, I think that a lot of reasons why in our community, and especially in my age group, the reason why we lack love is because we don't love ourselves, because we're so young and we've been taught, you know, that being gay and being Black is hard. And a lot of us don't want to deal with hard. We don't want to deal with struggles or issues. So when we see struggles and we see issues, it's kind of like, you know, we down in ourselves already. We're beating ourselves up. It's kind of hard for us to love who we are when we're already getting beat up by other people, and then we're beating ourselves up because other people are beating us up for us wanting to be who we want to be.
I think people don't know what love is, let alone it's hard to find a friend. To be in a relationship is difficult.
Sometimes it does get a little lonely being a gay Black male, especially if you're seeking companionship. I think a lot of Black gay males are seeking companionship from other males because sometimes they didn't get that companionship from males that were in their life, like some as far as like a father figure. So they kind of find other ways to deal with that.
I think there's just a lot to be said about the ways that young Black gay men experience romantic love today. I think there are some things that are probably very different than prior generations. I think there might be some things that are very similar. I think that, you know, it's very human for everyone to want to have the experience of being in love, and I don't think it's any different for young Black gay men.
How do young Black men today experience romantic love? They get older.
Young Black gay men. Growing up, I have found that there are not too many parents. If your parent knows that you're gay, you're not really going to experience too much of that thing called love. A lot of young, and I feel bad for them, but a lot of young Black men, if their parents find out that they're gay, they get put out immediately. And when you're talking about love, love starts from home. Therefore, if they're not receiving the love that they should have received at home, they go looking for it in other places, and they don't necessarily know how to go about it. And so, in a lot of ways, it's the same as, I think the tables have turned on young Black gay males as opposed to what used to be the stereotype or stigma on young black females who didn't have the love of their father in the home, is that you go looking for it and thinking that if you give up this part of you, that you're under the assumption that you're receiving love back from that person, but in essence you're just receiving lust from that person, and after this moment is over, there's nothing left there. As far as love amongst each other, I think that it's a ripple effect. It continues to trickle down, because once that love is not shown in the home, they go looking for that love in other places. They don't really find what they're looking for, and I think it's way later in life before anybody really realizes what the true meaning of love is, and especially among young black gay males, it's many years before they figure out what exactly is love. And by that time, back to that HIV, by that time, if they haven't been really safe about everything that they're doing, you know, they're in a bit of a predicament.
I feel like all humans deserve love. We weren't put on this earth to be alone. If that was the case, we'll stand by ourselves, right?
I'm not particularly sure that at a certain age, romantic love is what any young person is particularly looking for, unless that's been something they've been socialized into, something that they've seen and have been taught to want at a young age. Males specifically, regardless of sexual orientation, race, creed, or color, aren't taught that. We are not necessarily taught what true commitment, intimate partner relationships look like, how they operate, and really how they start, and the time that it takes without physical contact to build that relationship with somebody. The slow burning flame instead of the hot burning one that goes out really quick. The one that's going to last is not necessarily one that we're taught, and not something that you particularly develop until you get older, just through experiences, when it probably should be something that is taught, even if it's just for an FYI type of instruction. Like, you may not want it now, or you may not be thinking about that now, but for future reference, this is how you can do it.
I mean, what excites me and what I'm very interested in is the ways that, despite, you know, all that we consider what is going wrong and all the challenges that they face, there is love. There is a possibility of love, even in crisis and urgency and conflict. You know, there's still love, and I think that just shows the resilience again of young black gay men.
Well, love right now for a lot of gay youth or gay men is more of lust instead of love. It's I'm looking for something, and when I find it, 2 minutes later we're in a relationship, a week later we hate each other and we broke up. So really there isn't a lot of dating, courtship that used to be going on.
I think they feel like it's captivity. I think they feel like they're being imprisoned whenever they're in a relationship. But little do they know that it actually frees you.
I think we do so much to our own community that is just like, dog, I can't even sit here and blame straight people no more for a lot of the issues that go on with us, because we do like, literally, I want to say it's not even the lesbians. Gay black men do so much dirty stuff to our own community that is just like really jacked up.
And I mean, it's really cliche to say, you know, we need unity and all that kind of stuff, but I think there is something very powerful about the force of community, and I think that's just ultimately what's really key for us. I mean, just the value of building strong, vibrant communities of young black gay men. I think that's ultimately how we're going to be successful.
I define community as a group of supportive people, a group of people, and I mean, I guess I can scale it down. I can scale it down to maybe even just one or two people that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, when anything in good, bad, or indifferent, they're there. And you're there for them, they're for you. And those are people that love you, truly love you unconditionally, and that you love them, that you really truly couldn't be without. That is what a community is. That's really what a family is.
There's a lot of hook up, break up, and then I don't want to talk to you. So it's like they don't know the true meaning of what a friend is, because a lot of times they'll find people as a friend, and then it becomes friends with a benefit, and then it becomes a relationship, and then it breaks up, and then they don't want to talk to each other. So they don't know, again, the true aspect of being a friend also.
I think friendship is it a thing of the past, really. I think we are living in a much more, dog eat dog type of world, where one has to look out for themselves at whatever cost that may comes with it, and friendships and even acquaintanceships go to lacking.
I think it's just a title. People don't really know what friends are anymore. A friend is somebody you should be able to lean on, somebody you should be able to talk to, somebody that, that's there for you. They just use it as a title. Someone just to kiki with, I guess. They don't really take it that serious.
A friendship among young black men, gay men, requires a lot of honesty. And I think it requires a lot of conversation to make sure that that line is drawn between friendship and intimate partnership, regardless of whether or not you're single, or especially if you are in a relationship and you meet new people and you make new friends and stuff that happen to be gay. That line has to be drawn, and it has to be respected. And like all parties involved have to be aware of that, because there can be a certain attraction when you first meet somebody, even if you know going in that you want this person to be a friend. There's sometimes that what if factor, like what if we're here, what if this happens, and I think it's good to have friends, be friends with people who share the same experiences as you, that you can talk about the intimate things of your heart and be open and honest and be vulnerable with one another, and not necessarily have that lead to any type of physical sexual encounter. It's good. It shouldn't necessarily always be all about that.
Well, the From Where I Stand campaign also wanted to focus on the ways that friends can support each other in making optimal sexual health choices. So some of our billboards and some of the images that we created are of friendships, because we know that young black gay men don't exist alone. They don't always just exist individually, but they're a part of larger social networks. And I also think that friendship plays a really important role in the lives of gay men in general, but certainly young black gay men.
It's hard for me to have a gay guy friend because gay black men are like so territorial. And I can't deny it because I am too to some degree. But I'm not as bad as these queens down like here in Atlanta. Oh my God, son, when I see and I tell you I gotta go fight heads because they be thinking I'm trying to talk to their dude, when it's really the other way around, like, no, your dude trying to talk to me. I'm sorry, it's the truth. And I ain't even trying to holler at him like that because he ain't even my type. But it be like that. I mean, I have gay guy friends, but the gay guy friends that I have, they're like me, which is like our main goal is to be successful and to make something out of ourselves. And we don't want to be like no 35-year-old gay black males chasing after young dudes. Like, that's disgusting. I want to be in a relationship and be married. I don't want to be chasing after these young boys when I'm old.
I do think young black gay men value friendship. I think it's the one aspect of all of our lives that has gotten us through a lot of different things. When family relatives fall by the wayside, or things go bad with a partner, or when things just go bad in life, it's always important to have friends, and that has been a huge staple, I think, for members of the gay community. especially young black gay men. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're invisible or you're the only person going through what you're going through. And it's just not true. It's just not true that any one person is alone. It just may feel that way, and in the world around them may make them think it's that way, but that's not. It's not true. So I think absolutely friendships are valued. I think sometimes more than intimate partners sometimes.
I grew up in a small town, and so for me, a friend is someone who is there for you no matter what. You may go through this, that, or the other, but a friend is that person who, if I need something from you and you got it, you're going to give it to me, or if I need something from you and you got it, you're going to give it to me. And I think that here in Atlanta, because of, and in the black community, that whole thing where if you're homosexual, it's against what we believe and we don't want to really have anything to do with you. It's survival of the fittest when it comes down to friendship. And so as far as friends are concerned, it's like, I need what I need, and if I got to use a person to get it, then that's just what I got to do in order to survive. And so with that, I don't think that people actually learn the true value of true love or true friendship. I think that in some ways, and not bashing Christianity at all, because I am Christian, but in some ways, the whole Christian religion and the way of thinking amongst black Christians, that real critical thinking is really ruining the young black gay community. And I think it's pretty sad.
I believe some people take certain contexts from the Bible to try to control other people, and they manipulate it to speak to what they want, how they want to manipulate someone.
Many black gay men are challenged by the just insidious homophobia that is practiced every Sunday come high noon in churches, black churches across the country. And so they feel that they either have to hide their identity, and if not hide it, then certainly balance it, or do this sort of dance to appease straight folks, to appease their church in order to fit in, because that's where they experience community. I think it's one of the most egregious and hurtful examples of contradictions and hypocrisy in black community, in black history. The fact that we as a people that have suffered in many ways, triumph from oppression, still decide to ostracize those of us that are of a minority sexual and gender expression is absurd. It is almost as laughable as it is reprehensible.
Once people begin to accept the fact that this person can't change who they are, then they will begin to show love to that person as they show love to anyone else.
I actually came into my walk with Christ slightly after I kind of recognized that I was a homosexual male, and actually after I was out of the closet kind of by 21 or 2021, and I didn't really start going to church until 23, 24, after I graduated from undergrad. And I've always been the type of person that would question things. This doesn't make sense. If he doesn't want me to be like this, why did he create me like this? Because this is not a feeling that I choose to have.
You can't choose who you're attracted to. You can choose certain paths in life. You can choose how successful you are. You cannot choose your attraction. I can't wake up tomorrow and say, I'm attracted to females today. As much as I would love to, because I was raised Christian, as much as I would love to just drop this whole gay thing and not be attracted to men whatsoever, can't do that.
My spirituality is my own. It is self-authorizing. It is self-legitimating, as it is with queer folks in general, however they choose to participate in religious experiences. There shouldn't be any rent between or divide between one's sexual orientation and one's queer identity and one's right to spiritual expression.
Internet has monopolized most people's brains, and so they don't even see their life without the internet. And a lot of times, because they feel that way, then their whole life is broadcast over the internet, and that's where they learn new things. People find facts, they post it on Facebook, and then that person is an expert on that topic just because they found something online. So that really is the generation right now.
The internet has impacted this generation tremendously. Not only having access to the internet mobily, just everywhere, it has made the world shrink tremendously.
With the use of the internet, it makes this so weird. Like, it's not like a regular, like, I don't know, I would say straight or any kind of other kind of dating scene. Like, the internet just kind of mushes things up. So that's what, it's really, I think the dating scene is odd because it's like this combination of the internet, Adam for Adam, BGC, Men for Now, and then you have the club scene, and then like, I don't know, it's just really hard to like find a balance between those two. So it's weird, I'll say that.
Technology has its good and technology has its bad. But I think with anything, there comes good and there comes bad. At the end of the day, I believe it's all intention.
It's made the world more accessible, but in that you're also more open to its dangers too. And I think that's what's left out of the conversation sometimes. About effective dating, about effective communication with people, and knowing when to turn the computer off sometimes, and knowing when to put your phone down and actually have a real conversation with somebody and really get to know them. Not via text message, not even via phone conversation, but like an in-person, heart-to-heart, coming to Jesus talk that I don't know how many people are comfortable with that anymore.
I feel like it's a huge distraction. I feel like it's distracting the young gay community. And they're worried about the wrong thing, like A for A, BGC, things like that. Instead of worried about things like, you know, politics, spirituality, you know, or getting a job.
I think one of the most interesting things about technology is that everyone has to identify their sexuality now. It's not just the internal process, it's not just a mental exercise. You have to actually identify your sexuality. So you have sites, for example, like Adam for Adam, that gives you options like, I think it's top, bottom, oral, versatile, versatile bottom, versatile top. And I think maybe in previous generations, maybe didn't have so many options. So maybe, you know, that might be a good thing. Like you could see yourself as being oral, which means that you don't have necessarily an affinity for anal sex. Whereas before you might have only felt like you had two options, being a top or bottom. So I think there are some ways in which technology has perhaps expanded, you know, the possibilities of how we see our sexual possibilities for pleasure.
Courtship kind of has disappeared on a certain level because of it. I mean, because of access to internet. There really is no pursuit. Like, because if you want something, you can find it, and there's instant gratification, and that's it. I think it's very hard to do the opposite of that and actually go to the park, for instance, or go to a bookstore or meet somebody at the movies kind of thing, unless you were like really serious about meeting somebody and wanting to do that with that person. You don't have to. That can be just a detail to the final destination, just like a pit stop to the final destination, just kind of for show, if you wanted it to be that.
The internet has brought, you know, the possibilities for someone to date Tom, Dick, Carrie, James, Ralph, Slim, and Q all in the same day within minutes, you know, or a few texts between each other. So again, it's all about intention. If you want to do good, the internet will be there for you to do good. But if you want to do bad, the internet will be there for you to do bad. So
back then, meeting gay men was extremely hard. You never knew who was gay or who was not gay. You never knew if you approached that man, whether you were going to end your life by approaching that man or whether it was okay. Technology has made it so clear now that no matter how technologically incompetent you are, there is some facet of technology that you'll be able to fit into to find someone else who may be looking for the same thing that you are looking for. So it has advanced us in other ways because it also spreads information to us that would not otherwise have gotten to us. For instance, HIV, we have a very much so greater understanding of HIV and the effects of HIV, not only HIV, but other diseases that affect the young black gay community, not even the young black gay community, the gay community as a whole. This is indeed the age of information. I love this whole information generation. And not only that, I think that it's becoming, it's creating a better awareness for the heterosexual community to be able to understand gay males or lesbian females, and it's opening up doors so that with that understanding they're not so judgmental as to who we are. They have a better understanding of what we are and what we go through. And with that, I mean, I am anxious to see how much more information gets put out there.
I think the one thing that may have been lost, which is probably the most important thing for us as a people, as the human race to kind of progress, is that human connection. And I mean like the real human connection that you can only get from being in the physical presence of that other person. Because you get a lot more from that. You get a lot more out of that experience with eye contact and energy. Like, I believe in that, in that transmission of energy that doesn't necessarily transmit over technology. And if it does, it can be easily misinterpreted. And that's where problems arise. But like instant gratification and easy access and being able to talk to somebody across the world or right down the street that you just met and being able to see that person or meet that person is much easier because of the internet. But if that's all that it's used for and not actually meant to make it easier to have that human connection, that true human connection that takes time to be built, then I think we lost something tremendous that if we don't get back will yield a lot of problems.
One of the most profound, I think, from where I stand statements that a young brother gave to us or offered us was, "From where I stand, I am not alone." And we used that statement and connected it to an image of a group of people together, a group of friends together. They're actually friends in real life. And I just thought that was really powerful because one of the ways that homophobia operates is that I think oppression in general and homophobia in particular is the most strong and the most powerful is when it isolates us.
Other black gay men are people like me. So in a sense, like, for me, it's like anybody who's going through the same things that I went through are my heroes.
I personally think it's good to be out. There's a deep, profound freedom with saying, look, I'm grown or I'm trying to get grown, and this is a step that I need to take to do that. Yeah, and living and walking in your truth is a very powerful thing.
Like before I'm gay, I'm black. I'm a black male.
I think the thing that frightened me most about being a black gay man in this society was always a fear that I would have a lack of choices. I thought that being gay meant that there are just certain options that would be closed off to me, that my life would be very narrow, that being gay would be this thing that would just always follow me like a shadow. And that hasn't been the case at all. I think that my experience in being gay is that it has actually opened doors for me. And I don't mean just professionally or whatever, but I mean in terms of my life's journey. I think there's nothing like it. I mean, I think life is always just an amazing series of lessons that one learns, and I really wouldn't trade this journey for anything. You know, is my life harder because I'm gay and black? You know, sometimes you hear that a lot, like being gay and black is like this sort of double whammy kind of thing. And I don't know. I mean, I think of the words of James Baldwin. He did this interview one time and he was asked what it meant for him to be black and gay. And he said he felt like he, you know, hit the jackpot. And I do believe that there's a unique experience, a unique experience you have from the struggle and the joy of being a black gay man that is just really rich. And again, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
When I was younger, I used to be negative towards homosexual community and being gay and everything. And then as I grown up and got more in tune for who I am and to love myself and respect myself, being gay and being black was like a piece of cake.
My meaning of being gay means being yourself. If you're gay, you're gay. And I'm gonna quote one of my favorite comedians: if you gay, goddamn it, be gay.
Sometimes when I lead workshops, I ask the participants, you know, as a kind of, you know, just a process question, you know, if they could take a pill and make them straight tomorrow, would they do it? And, you know, most people usually say no. Some people actually say yes, but for me, it's never been an option. Like if I could push the button and make myself straight tomorrow, I mean, I wouldn't.
Growing up and maturing into Antoine the adult and deciding who I wanted to be as an adult and how I wanted to live my life as an adult, which was open, completely honest, and not hiding from anybody. And I think it's worked for me, for both the gay community and the straight community.
So, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, you know, homophobic people think it's all about sex, right? Like that's what they reduce it to. And certainly, you know, sexuality and sexual pleasure plays a role in it. You know, it's also, I mean, there's just really rich culture and history that you're connected to. I mean, there's Bayard Rustin, there's a Harlem Renaissance, there, like all these amazing figures, James Baldwin. I mean, there's a lineage and a history that you're connected to. And I think young black gay men need to know that they are a part of something wonderful and large and rich and amazing and epic, and that they should learn as much about it as they possibly can.
That I'm not just just this black gay man, but I represent, you know, someone who went to school, you know, got my bachelor's, got my master's, you know, I'm now working on my, you know, PhD.
And that's what the From Where I Stand campaign is about, telling the full story, or attempting to tell the full story of young black gay men. Not just as a bunch of statistics, not just as pathology and deficit, but also, you know, looking at the assets and looking at some of the things that's going on really well with them too.
It's okay to smile and be happy even when no one else is there, because there's just going to be those rough patches that are just going to be crazy. But at the end of the day, like, I know how to deal with it. I've dealt with it. I know how to roll with the punches. It hasn't never been an easy process, but what is easy in life? So learn, you know, be able to smile and just laugh.
I would tell the 21-year-old Craig to trust your intuition, to, again, talk to folks, share what you're doing, share your dating experiences with other friends to get feedback. And always think about what it is that you deserve, and that you deserve nothing less than love and respect and dignity. And if it doesn't feel good, if it's drama, then it's not worth your time. That you deserve to be embraced, you deserve to be loved without drama, without deceit, without insanity, without violence, without shame. You actually not only deserve that, you can have that.
Black gay life does not have to be built on the template of a white gay man's world or white gay life. I would erase the document that says, you know, white is right, and just start from there. You know, describe yourself as a more loving population and just go from there. So within the next 10 years, I want black gay men to be okay with being just who they are, black gay and men.
My hope for young black gay men is that they fully recognize their beauty and their strength.
My work has been dedicated to trying to find ways that we as black gay men can lead each other and follow each other and coexist each other in loving ways. And I have been obsessed with it, quite frankly. And I really see From Where I Stand as being a part of that work. I wanted young black gay men talking to each other. And it's not to say that, you know, people that aren't young black gay men can't be a part of the conversation and can't listen to the conversation, but I really wanted the conversation to be about them. And so, yes, I think that it's important that we are constantly challenging racism from the white community and challenging homophobia and heterosexism from straight folks. But I also think it's important for us to be careful and witness those forces within ourselves that cause us to act in ways that are unloving or uncaring. So, and that's the world I want to live in, where young black gay men aren't afraid of each other, and they're not scared of and they're not angry at each other.
From where I stand, young black gay men are more powerful than we can imagine. And starting today, we will take back that power.
From where I stand, I am more than the perception that anyone can ever place on me.
From where I stand, I'm not a statistic.
From where I stand, black gay men have all that we need to be free.
From where I stand, I am free. I am truth. And I am inspiration.
From where I stand, I'm not defined by a virus.
From where I stand, I am resilient.
From where I stand, it's going to be someone else who's going to take my place. And when they do take my place, there's going to be a story that's told about me and about my life. And I represent a great lineage of black men, of black gay men, who are going to continue to reach higher and higher, higher, until there's just nowhere higher to go.
Where I stand, I am the future.
From where I stand, I still believe that black men loving black men is a revolutionary act.